Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, beautiful friends. I'm here with you today because I want to do an in-depth reading on what's going on with the collective masculine and feminine. So if you've watched my videos before, you'll know that I tune into the feminine component and the masculine component, and then also the shared energy. And I do this through a series of different cards that come out. This video is going to be a three-parter because I'm going to go pretty deep into it, and I don't want the videos to be too long. So tune in. Let's get ready for this wild ride. We're going to start off with our Dragon Oracle. These are Diana Cooper's Dragon Oracle cards. And as you can see here, these ones. And yeah, let's see what these cards have to say. All right, so for the feminine, we're starting off with the Pure White Dragon from Orion. All right, this says that it transforms your ascension knowledge into pure wisdom. Process what you know, act with truth and honesty, and let your wings of light grow and expand. All right, I do really feel that this is very in alignment with what we've been seeing with the collective feminine. There's been this deep shedding of like, yeah, I don't do that anymore. I don't want to participate. There might be still some like wobbling or like, coming back into those patterns. But as we tune into this dragon and we also allow this support energy from this pure white dragon to come in, I think what we're really being asked is not to play small anymore and really to continue to assess the ways that we are staying small. Okay. Interesting. And yeah, for the masculine, what comes up is the fire dragon. All right. And this says, burns up the lower energies around you. You are safe and protected. Be determined and inspire. Clear your soul pathway. All right, so as we look at these cards, or as we look at this card, what I really feel is some of these energies that have really been keeping the masculine stuck, not only their own thought patterns, but their own physical dynamics that they're allowing to feed and attack their reality are continuing to come into play here. So we ask for the support of the fire dragon to continue this transmutation process. If you've watched my readings before, sometimes they turn into readings, which means there's a clearing component to them as well. We're always using the tarot and oracle cards not to be predictive as much as we are to be present with the current process and what it is. So it's a deeper insight into this current reality. Now, what comes up for the shared energy is the black dragon. Cocoons you so that your divine potential grows. Meditate, reflect, undergo a metamorphosis. So this coming up in the third energy, and the third energy sometimes brings a message forth as far as what it is that we are intended to know. It also can be the physicalization of the shared energy. So I'm kind of getting both through this card as far as how we cultivate our safe spaces, not only within ourselves, but within each other. Now, when I talk about the external or the internal, when I talk about the collective masculine and feminine, I'm also talking about the collective masculine and feminine within us. I'm talking about our own dynamics within this. This could also manifest or be displayed or mirrored in physical union. A lot of this is happening simultaneously on a level that we haven't really seen before. It's there is a mass ascension kind of going on. So anyway, so what I love about this card is I do really feel that it brings us in a safe space to do some really deep healing and growing. I will be curious if a card that I drew recently in the Herbal Astrology deck showed a purpose, and it was this alchemical process with happening within a bottle, but the roots were coming out of the bottle and the stems were coming out of the bottle. So it was both being rooted and growing within these polarities. Now, I bring that up because this feels like the same thing, that this bottle is right here. That is from another reading entirely, but it was pretty recent, so it's there. All right, so we thank Pure White Dragon from Orion, we thank Fire Dragon, and we thank Black Dragon for blessing us during this reading today as we do this work. We ask that their transmuting and transformative energies, I'm trying to combine all the words into one, come bless us and work with us as we do this clear reading today. All right, so next we're going to pop up with our animal medicine. And the animal medicine here is rabbit for the feminine. All right. So what I'm feeling with this, rabbit can sometimes represent fear and getting too much in our heads. There's a great story within the medicine card book that talks about how like rabbit was friends with a witch, and the witch used her powers to help heal the rabbit, but then the rabbit became afraid of the witch, and then the witch ended up cursing the rabbit to be forever in fear. Now, what I get with this, this rabbit could also represent fertility and abundance, you know, connecting with the mysterious powers of the moon. So rabbit coming up for the feminine, what I'm really getting is some of this component of like being really aware of how your mental energies are impacting your process. Okay, so if you're in a bit of a spiral, and again, this ties in with this other reading, I'll try to remember to tag that one as well at the end of this video. It was a quickie. But you know, it's this wheel kind of energy. And sometimes the wheel can be a bit intoxicating, all right? So that we're getting kind of lost in the enchanter's wheel of like, what is it that's actually going on? You know, we get lost in the realm of emotion, of the subconscious, of the dreams, and we lose the grasping on the physical. So I feel like the invitation of the rabbit here is to like come back into the body. I'm getting a lot of nervousness from the rabbit at this time. So it's like, what is it within our own nervous systems that needs to be shook free? And, you know, kind of realign so that you're empowered rabbit and not scared rabbit. You know, we want to be in the fertility, not in the fear. All right. A phrase that I heard the other day is, you know, we can have an abundance of anything, and that can include an abundance of lack, right? So when we move into this abundance mindset, you know, really getting clear on, is it fertility or fear that we're cultivating? And I think that's the message of the rabbit here. What I get here with the masculine next is quite interesting, and it's been curious that a lot of times when I draw for the masculine, 2 cards are coming out. I feel that there's a big rebalancing happening within the masculine component right now as it relates to their own inner union. Now, I feel like the feminine may have been doing the work a little bit more consciously or deliberately with both components, and the masculine's just starting to kind of integrate their own feminine. Now, even as I say that, I don't know that that's entirely true, because I know for myself, I've been integrating my own masculine in a different way and listening to that more powerfully. You have to remember that we're 2 pieces of the same pie. So with fox and raven, okay, so fox, again, there can be a duality message here. The fox can be sneaky, it can be conniving, thriving. It can also be a master of illusion and like of camouflage. And the raven, of course, is a big magic invitation. Now, I just picked up a raven feather the other day, and I'm really excited to kind of have that medicine working more directly with me. Now, what I see as these 2 components go together, you know, the raven kind of is that essence of the witch I was just talking about, right? You know, it is this like sorcerer component. It's checking in with the sacred law, and it's engaging the sacred law. And the message I hear with these 2 cards with the masculine is, don't underestimate the power of what the masculine is transmuting right now. You don't have to be fearful that it's going into this old way or these old formats, that there is more avoiding going on of, you know, slipping back into the delusions, to the distortions, the addictions, those sort of things, the ignorance, the avoidance. There's less of that going on than it might appear. So I think the fear is what the feminine looks out to see is maybe seemingly more of the same thing. But what's going on under the surface and what the animals are guiding forth is a much more deeper alchemical process. So it's almost like the masculine is like masking his inner magic right now, but he is connecting with it. All right, the card that I drew for the shared energy is a blank dream catcher. So I always use this as an invitation. If you have your own animal that's been speaking to you a lot, maybe one comes up to you in a dream, or it might make itself more present throughout some of the other cards that we will explore today. All right, so now we're gonna tap into the herbal astrology, and then we're gonna take a pause, and then we're gonna go into the next layer of things. All right, so interesting. For the feminine, we get comfrey, which is completion, number 32. All right, so okay, yeah, this is making more sense. So, there are these energies right now going on with the feminine, okay? So, if this is comfrey completion, what's really sticking out for me is we've got this sacred wedding arch kind of happening. It's like she knows that she wants to come into sacred union. She knows it's aware, but her own fears are still kind of getting in the way, and her own fears are what are keeping her small, all right? So as we have this threefold process here, the comfrey and the completion, and I guess I'm taking the word comfrey and finding comfort in it. But the completion is the end of this cycle. It's the end of playing small. It is the end of not expanding into your radiant light. What's cool with like exploring the dragons first is this really kind of shows like the inner reality that is in bloom. It shows like the higher timeline that's available, whereas the animals are bringing us more into this present, to this earthly bond and bind. I don't know a super ton about comfrey. I know it's a traveler's route too. So I do feel like the excursions and the inner journeys that the feminine is taking is fully impacting this process. And she is doing some deep alchemy. I like that there's just like randomly 2 bones under the crystal, like the reef itself reminds me of asparagus. So let's spare ourselves and really deepen into the magic of stepping into our power. I think that's the lesson of the feminine at this time. Okay, so for the masculine, we get the magician, okay? And I really feel like this is what all of these cards are inviting, right? We've got the alchemical fire that's happening within. They're masking their process externally, all right? But this deep alchemy is coming in, and they're showing up. I really think that, what's the book? Sacred Sexual Union talks about how there is a triad of roles that are within us. So archetypes, basically. And within the masculine and feminine dynamic, of course you have the lover. We both have the lover component. We also have the king and the queen component. All right. And then after that, we have the sorcerer, sorceress, the enchanter, enchantress, the witch, and the wizard. This type of alchemical master. All right, and it's like we connect with the heart that gets this stuff going. We connect the king, the clear sight, clear vision, and we connect with the alchemical process that merges all of it, so that we have this sacred triangle of work. Now, there's so many places that we can connect with this triangle energy, this sacred 3, right? And I for myself, I've been looking a lot into the healing the cycles of codependency, or the drama triangle, which you have like the victim, the perpetrator, and then the pursuer. And sometimes we need to look at these different roles for ourselves and to see how we're engaging with them, and if that's even the kind of triangle we want to be in. All right, so the third energy for the 2 is intuition. Now, what I'm really loving about this card is there is a lot of expansive energy in this. That we've got a cup that's overflowing. We've also got a lot of dualistic and harmonic components going on. So you have 2 birds. That symbolizes union for me really deeply anytime we see this pairing together. We also have the sun and the moon. All right. So this is like how the masculine and the feminine is merging, and how they are dancing in divine. The sun, there are eclipses, and there are, ways when our sun and moon kind of overlap and work together. But ultimately, they're doing their own thing. But it's part of the radiance of the masculine, of that light of the sun, that helps the moon to shine. But like the earth itself, it can't have that masculine energy all the time. It needs that rest. It needs that night. Now, we just had the summer solstice, so we're still in like the most amount of light. There's a lot of this transformative energy coming through, because that is the action of the masculine. The feminine is the more introspective. It is this deeper time. That's, that is the winter time. And what's cool about this is we think about our Earth, you know, we have the southern and the southern and the northern hemisphere, and in that we have this duality that goes on of this is our time of light, this is their time of dark, this is their time of dark, this is our time of light. So a lot of like really curious energies there. You know, so as you know, I think that if we're looking at these two with, you know, with the gestation in between, is, you know, we're really cultivating these sacred energies from our third energies so that we can manifest this new earth. I get a lot of new earth energy from this card and a lot of radiant light moving forward. And the cup is overflowing. The earth is abundance. I got a strong message. You know, a lot of people out there are having calls to put together healing centers, retreat centers. And the long-term vision of that isn't that they are, you know, they for a while will be places of transition and healing, but ultimately they will become small tribes and collectives where people are coming together and they're working more sustainably. The work of our new earth, we cannot sustain the way that we have been living. So part of the invitation moving forth is, you know, how are we actually cultivating these things? And I just, you know, I think about the people who I've connected with that have the visions of these retreat centers and, you know, holding these spaces. And it's like, sometimes you have to get beyond the vision of the vision to get to the next vision to bring in the current vision. And I do believe that like everything is in its right time. So these things are being made possible little by little. And the universe is working on orchestrating, and we are working with spirit to orchestrate, you know, the financial resources to have these things, to hold these spaces. And during that process, we're being alchemized so that these things can occur. Now, this isn't a huge dream of mine. My dream is more the dream after the dream of like living more in community and accountability and, you know, like really stepping forth to both do our inner work and show up in the physical world in a great way. And I know a part of that is balancing not only our inner union, but also finding it externally, because the more we come together as pairs and then extend, you know, beyond the pairs and into these, you know, these triads or these groups, the more powerful our energy becomes. And that's a really beautiful thing. So this reading is not over. Tune in for part 2 where we're going to get into more of the inner dynamics of the collective on the individual level, because this was very general and oracly. We're going to use the inner child tarot next, and the Forest of Enchantment and the Seers of Light to explore these inner realms that we're moving towards next. So stay tuned.